Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage.
Shine like a ray from the sun. There's something people look for but never can find.
And we're back with another episode of the Legend Makers podcast, and I have two real Legend Makers sitting right in front of me. I have Kim Collazo and Carrie Robledo. All right, let's talk. So I know you two because you were in drones, and you were doing drones before me, which was cool. And so when I came onto the scene, I started looking around at who was doing what. And lo and behold, I find you two doing something really awesome in your classroom. So why don't you introduce yourselves and we could talk a little bit about what you guys were doing with drones, and we'll just get into it.
Yeah, so thanks for having us. I'm Carrie Robledo, and I'm currently a second grade teacher at Star Elementary School. It's back in 2016, I was an ed tech facilitator with Kim. We did a lot with robotics, and we were looking like, what's next? And so I wrote a Bright Ideas grant for our local energy co-op and for drones. I saw an article or a book about drones in the classroom. And so I was like, ooh, let's try this. I had no idea what I was doing. No clue. But I said, this looks great. Did some research on the best drones, what to buy, and was awarded the grant. And then we just went from there. So we got a pack of 6 Parrot Mambo drones. Yeah. And then we're still like, what do we do there? But we worked with 4th through 8th graders in our robotics club, and they really helped us test the waters and see what would work, what wouldn't work. And we went from there.
Yeah, and I'm Kim Collazo, and I was the lucky one that got to work with Carrie for several years as instructional tech facilitator. And like she said, she started with the drones, and after she got going, she's like, Kim, you have got to come over and check this out. This is definitely where we need to be taking the kids, not because it's a cool toy in any way. It's more that they're going to be able to apply their coding skills that we've been, using with robotics. They're going to be able to solve problems with the drones. A lot of real world tie-in, and those were all things that Carrie and I both believe strongly in. That it's got to have some relevancy to what they're going to face in real life and what's going on in real life. And so immediately I was hooked. I went over and observed Carrie and her group, and we just, got together and started doing it a lot more throughout our district. So we started an after girls drone club called Glide, Girls Leading Innovation with Drones and Engineering. And so we had a group of, I think 10 or 12, I guess it was 12, Carrie, 3rd through 5th grade girls. And they would stay for one afternoon after school, and we all met in the STEM lab, and we would Carrie and I would design lessons using drones behind the scenes, test out some cool things we wanted to try. And the girls were just, they jumped right in. The indoor drones, for any of you that have experimented with them or any of you that are interested in using them, are very user-friendly for the kids and teachers. And so we had a lot of fun, more fun than probably the girls did.
And this was when? This was 2017? Wow.
So we started
really early.
And when we started, we were talking about, one day drones are going to be delivering your medicines, or drones could be delivering. And now that's actually happening. And that was back in 2017. Being back in the classroom, AI is a big, everywhere. And so I'm looking at my 2nd graders with that same focus or lens as I was with the drones. So I'm thinking one day, and I'm wondering, what's that going to look like, And so it's really interesting to think about, we thought almost 9 years ago with these drones, one day we'll be delivering. And so now what's that going to look like when they're adults with AI technology, drone technology?
That's a really interesting question, because I will argue that my brother and I were just talking about this today about how fast, I'm using AI for coding now, and I'm building applications. And, I've built a couple things over the last month using Claude Code that a year ago wouldn't have been remotely possible. And I mean, solving real problems that I had in my business. I built an inventory management system that's customized to me. I don't know a lick of code. and it works well. It's database. It's got login, pass. It works very, very well. I built a demo. I just, who knows? Second grade. I mean, it is, I mean, you guys may know we were around during the beginning. I don't know, Carrie, I don't know, maybe you just have baby face, but like I was there in the beginning of the internet, right? Like I was in business working, and I remember getting email, and I remember getting the internet and www. I remember I was around for all of that. And it moved in relation to today's speed with AI, a snail's pace. I mean, when you think about browsers and internet, Netscape, and like Gopher, and like, web crawler, and all these things, and then like AOL, and then Netscape, and then Google. But that stuff took months and years, and .com. And I mean, you open the news every day and Anthropic's dropping something new that's like, well, this changes everything. And it's just days before they launch something else. So to get back to your point about second graders, wow, the world they're going to grow up in, I don't even know. I couldn't even begin to imagine.
And I think that's something that Carrie and I talked about a lot when we work together, and we still do when we collaborate on things, is that it's not enough just to teach the newest tool that has come out. It's not enough just to teach how to use a drone. It's not enough just to teach how AI works. It's not enough just to teach, how to code a robot. What we really need to be laying the foundation with all kids at all grade levels, starting with preschool, is how to problem solve, how to persevere when things don't go the way you think they're going to, how to work together, how to compromise and take other people's opinions into, into your plan. If your plan doesn't work, maybe your friend's plan will work. And that, for young kids, is a really hard thing to learn, and it takes practice. And I know teachers get overwhelmed. There's a lot going on in the classroom right now, and there's hardly any time to do anything extra. But if we can teach those baseline foundational skills through, whether it's reading, math, science, social studies, STEM topics, those are the things that are going to carry our kids through whatever changes come that we can't even foresee right now.
Agreed. Carrie, you agree? You're nodding over there.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm just thinking about, we did an engineering challenge today that Kim shared, the hex bug mazes with the life cycles. And there was a lot of struggle there. But I heard a lot of good communication, and they worked in groups of 4. And my second graders were like, "Oh, have you tried? Let's try this. What if we did this? I really like your plan. What if we did this instead?"
really.
And so they didn't come into second grade knowing, like, using that teamwork. That's something that we had to practice. We do a lot of turn and talks in our class, when we're talking, like in our ELA or math, like, turn to your partner and tell them how you would solve this problem. And so we're really trying to build that collaboration up organically. So then that way, when they are working as a team, it's easy for them. It's not, now we still have some struggle, and that's when we have to come together, like, okay, let's have a conversation about, where's the disagreement? How can we solve this together? And I think that is also very, very good to have too, because not everybody's always going to agree with you, right? So we have to learn how to work together to solve problems.
I like this turn and talk concept. I had not heard of that, obviously. So that's cool. So you turn and talk to your neighbor. And so we're talking about 7 years old, right? 7 for second grade. So that's young.
I think that hits on a really important point, Scott, is that we don't have to wait till the kids are 4th and 5th grade or middle school to start teaching these things. The younger students can do a lot more than we give them credit for. They can do engineering challenges. They can do STEM experiments. We just, we need to set it at their level, but we need to set the bar high for even our youngest students, and they will definitely rise to it. Carrie and I have seen it over and over again as we worked with preschoolers all the way up through.
I think you're right. And they're being exposed to things so much earlier than we were. So like they're going to be so much more advanced at an earlier age than like I was. I mean, my gosh, I was in 1973 or something. It was like, Abacus or something like that I was using. But so they're like really advanced. I'm reading this really cool book right now. I'm going to grab something off the wall. I'm kind of hooked on this, and I would love to see your take on this. So I'm reading this book called The Algorithm. and it's by John McIntyre, and it's about, he was the CEO of Tesla under Musk. Musk hired him. And the algorithm he's talking about is the following. So they always, at Tesla, they have this algorithm. At SpaceX, they have this algorithm too. And it's a 5-step process for everything that they do. And so I'm thinking, like, Carrie, I'd love you to maybe see if you can get the kids thinking this way, because I tell you, it's really awesome. And I'll give you an example of one of the cool things. So number one, question every requirement. Right away. Everything changes. Technology is moving so fast that what was impossible a year ago is likely possible today. So why are we doing it this way? Like, why? Because maybe there's a different way to do it. Is it something that's like either it's tradition, or it's been doing that way for a long time, or it's this one size fits all thing? Like, why? Question every requirement, and then delete every possible step in the process. That's part 2. So Musk said, if you're not putting things back, you didn't delete enough. So what question everything, delete every possible step in the process. So what can you rip out, right? Simplify and then optimize those, right? So get it down to its bare bones. What's the most simple? What did Einstein say? Like, simplicity is the highest form of elegance, or something like that. There's like a quote. So simplify, it's hard, right? And then accelerate cycle times, which is in manufacturing. They look at this through the lens of manufacturing. But if you're building something and then you automate, and what they argue is people do it backwards. Like, here's an example. They automated the Tesla shop, and it was all these robots. And it was taking forever, and it was early in the production. They were behind production, and they were finding that the process, even though it was all automated, it still was taking too long. So I'd have this arm had to meet this arm at just the right time. This bolt had to be put into this thing at just the right space. And sometimes the rivets didn't match up, and then it created a bottleneck. And so what they said is, some guy came in with a Matchbox car. Remember little Matchbox cars? And he was looking at it, and he goes, you know why they can make these so cheap? Because it's 2 pieces. There's a cast. The whole top of the car is a cast mold. Oh, could we do that? Think about that. It would take away all the bolts and rivets. We could never do that. You can't cast that big. They thought impossible, too dangerous. Guess what? Now they cast really big. They have the biggest casters. So they thought about, how do we delete all those robotic steps by creating a cast mold for the Tesla frame that's made as a one piece. There's like 3 parts to a Tesla, I think, overall. Like, there's more, but I mean, in general, there's these 3 big components. Anyway, I'd love you to look at that. I think the first one, more than anything to me, is a way to innovate, right? Is question every single thing. Like to get the kids ought to look and go, why do we do it that way? Not because I said so. Anyway.
I will tell you, 2nd graders are very good at questioning everything.
So you should, yes, and I think more of that, right?
Right.
More of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's where innovation.
I think the problem is, as educators, we kind of squash that as they get older, because they come in as very curious learners. They're sponges. They want to soak up everything. They question everything. They want to know why. And we consciously and subconsciously squash that as they get older, and we kill all that curiosity. So that's one of the unfortunate things that I think happens because of the standardization of education.
I
agree.
But I think it's going to change.
I agree. And I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she, Mommy, why is this happening? Why is that? Everything is why. And so you're like, oh, she's very curious. And so I'm excited to see her questioning and wanting to learn more. And so I want that to continue as she's a student, when she enters school. And so it's very interesting to see.
I wish I could see the video of your hex bugs challenge with those little 2nd graders. That would be so adorable. I bet you it's great. Right? Would you do a little hex bug maze? And they had to go around like a little maze and stuff.
They did for the life cycles.
That's awesome. I love that. That is so cool. So let's get here. I mean, I think this is cool because we're leaning into some of the technology, and you are a technology integrator, and I think this is great. So AI is clearly where everything is. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but at the end of the day, it's here, and it's going to be as ubiquitous as like electricity. Like, we don't think of the internet anymore as anything unique. It's just there. It's always there. It's always on. AI is going to be the same way. and these kids have to grow up in it. And so, I agree with you both that this ability to think and critical thinking, collaboration, communication, perseverance, working through, I think rote learning. However, there is something to be said for a lot of they're bringing back handwriting. I know in PA, they're going to teach cursive again, right? Getting phones out of schools. There's a lot of this going on. So what do you guys think of that whole model of back to reading and writing and handwriting and all that? You like it?
So I'm back in the classroom after being gone for 10 years, like doing other ED work. And so I was a tech facilitator. And I was like, here's how we can use the Chromebooks in our classroom. And, I still see that there is a time and place for it. But now as a classroom teacher, I think the students are on the devices too often. Because when they go home, they have a tablet, and they're on that, they're playing games, they have that instant gratification. And I'm seeing the result of that in my classrooms. And so I'm going back to all right, instead of, doing this on a slide deck on, or let's write, instead of putting, we still integrate technology when appropriate, right? It's always the learning is first, and then we add technology as it fits. But we're going back to, at least in my classroom, more, I don't want to say traditional, because we're not in a, more hands-on and purposeful technology use.
Well, I kind of want to do that. This is interesting because you were gone. You just said something that I want to go back to. You were gone. You came out of the classroom for 10 years. So what if at same grade level or no younger?
But I taught 5th grade. Yeah.
5th grade. Yeah. But so what do you notice in it? What's the difference? And, let's be candid. What was the difference between 10 years ago, students of 10 years ago, and students today? What's the difference?
I would say attention spans. And I don't know if that's because I'm in a younger grade level. But I think now it's always, okay, what do we do next? What's next? We're done. What's next? Whereas before, my students were okay just waiting for the next set of directions. I feel like we always have to be on giving them, here's what you're going to do next. Okay, you're done with that. Here's what you do next. Like I said, the instant gratification. And I would venture to say it's because they're used to the tablets that they have in front of them, and they're watching TikTok videos, YouTube shorts, like those quick videos where they're getting that exposure. And then they move on to the next thing, and then the next thing. And so they don't know, you just sit there and be bored. They're not comfortable with that.
Right. They aren't. Maybe you should practice mindfulness in school.
Right.
Do a little Zen, doing some quiet, meditative, reflective time. Can you quiet? How long? Do you know what's a good trick?
Quiet game. Yeah.
The quiet game. You know what's a great trick? I don't know where I heard this, but I tried it. Say to yourself, what's your next thought going to be? What's your next thought going to be? And somehow it makes you not have a thought. Try it. When you're just quiet, what's my next thought going to be? And you somehow go blank. And it's kind of cool because maybe try to get the kids. I'd love you to try to work a little mindfulness in there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And see if they can do just some Zen quiet time.
Right.
I'll give you a funny story is a friend of mine, we were on Zoom once, not long ago. And back in the day, remember Wendy's, the hamburger place, used to have these funny commercials where it was one size fits all commercials. And they had the Russian fashion show. And it was the big woman in the gray smock. And it was when she was swimwear, she held a beach ball. And it was it looked all gray, the video was kind of almost monochromatic gray, and they were sitting on everybody was in the stands, and there was a runway, and it was this kind of a busky hurly woman, and she was in a gray smock, and it would be swimwear, and then she'd go evening wear, and she had a flashlight, but she never changed. It was always the same thing, but it was evening wear was a flashlight. Anyway, we were talking about this, and I used to, because every time I pick up one of the balls in the gym, I just think to myself, swimwear. And but the funny thing is that we're let's go watch that commercial. Now this is a year ago. It's a minute long.
Wow.
It was a minute long commercial, and we're sitting there going, even us, grown two grown men who watched that stuff were like, we sat through this? Like, I was ready to pull my hair out. And I was like, this is like really long. It was a minute-long commercial. And we literally, a 30-second spot was short. Now it's 10 seconds. You get on like YouTube, you get those little 10-second shots. And then in TikTok, right?
And I
30
think,
seconds.
And since I've retired and moved kind of into the picture book writing world, and I've been talking a lot with authors and editors, and we're seeing that with the kids reading as well, that the longer middle grade novels that the kids used to enjoy so much are just, they don't have the attention span to make it all the way through. Yes.
No kids are reading this.
No, and editors are asking now for writers to write, shorter picture books, because the kids just cannot attend that long, which is just sad to me, but that's where we are, and that's where we need to meet them, and hopefully move.
Right.
And then, let's talk about your books for a minute. So tell us what you're working on right now. You've got all those books behind you. So for those of you that don't know Kim, she's a book author, and so tell us what you're doing.
It's been an interesting switch. I started into it just because I wanted to write books for teachers, because Carrie and I both believe strongly in starting our lessons. Many of our STEM lessons start with a picture book. It's the jumping off point. It gives the foundation for what we're going to be doing, and the problem in the challenge. And so I just wanted to write picture books that would help teachers like Carrie, who maybe don't have time in the schedule that's mandated by the district or the state to fit in science. I'm a big science lover. My dad was a science teacher. So I wanted to write picture books that kids would love, that teachers could use to introduce science and incorporate it maybe into their language arts or whatever else, what other time they had in the classroom. So it's been a really great adventure, honing my skills in that area, and finding out, what is selling in the world of publishing, and what is not, what's needed by the kids and the teachers. It's been a really cool adventure since I've retired.
Yeah. And what is selling? Like shorter form? Like what's hot with like kids? I mean, I know picture books for my little kid, he loved them. Right?
Yeah, picture books, the whole industry is struggling right now, but just because of the current social climate. But picture books, are still a hot commodity. Fewer words in the picture books. Like when we write them, we try to keep them under 500 words, which means that every single word has to count. Like I said earlier, shorter chapter books with a lot more illustrations for the children to support the kids reading, because reading levels have declined in the last few years. We need to try to build that back up. But as a matter of fact, I listened to a podcast this morning on graphic novels. A lot of writers are trying to learn how to write more graphic novels, because that fits right into what Carrie was saying, about the TikTok and the shorts, the short comic looking, and reading is reading. I mean, I'm happy
the
kid picks up.
Have you seen Webtoons? Do you know what Webtoons is?
You showed it to me, Scott.
Oh, yeah, right. Carrie, check out Webtoons. So Webtoons,
I'll have to check that out.
Webtoons is like anime-ish style. Mostly it's anime. It's sports manga. So there's a style. It's a genre. It feels very anime-like. And you can go to webtoons.com, and they have the app. And instead of kids reading, each frame, like a comic book, is a scroll. And it's graphic novel, but it's in a TikTok-ish kind of a format.
Oh, wow.
So they literally scroll through one panel at a time and read stories. And they get millions and millions and millions of views. Some of these stories get like tens of millions of views, because the kids are actually reading in the format. So Kim, meet them where they are, right? They're reading in the style that they're accustomed to. So instead of trying to force this on them, we put it in a format that they're more comfortable with, and therefore but they're reading. It's called Webtoons. It's really
interesting.
Cool.
And Kim, I'm glad you said that. And thank you for sharing that, Scott. And I'll share that with my students. My second graders love graphic novels. And so they've been every time I look, they have a different graphic novel. And so that's really where their interest is.
Yeah. What's the hot,
The webinar that I listened to this morning had an author who was talking about how she worked for Epic. Carrie, you're familiar with Epic, Scott. It's an online. It's like one of the biggest ebook sellers for children. It's free for schools to use. Kids
Oh,
can use it for a
nice.
certain amount of hours after school for free. But they were talking about how their graphic novel series are viewed like multi-million times
Yeah,
beyond what, their traditional books are viewed by kids. And
yeah.
so, yeah, I mean,
Hey, they're
books
reading.
have been around for a long time, but it's definitely the in thing right now, just because.
It really is. It really is. And then the kids are reading, so that at least they're reading,
Yes.
right?
Right.
It's better than not, right? I
And
mean,
like
I'm still a book junkie myself. I like
Yeah.
novels, but
they're reading Babysitter's Club as a graphic novel, and I was like, well, back in my day,
yeah,
this was like a chapter book. But
yeah,
it's good
yeah.
for that they're carrying that on.
It is. It is. So I don't know that I've ever asked either one of you two. Like, what got you into teaching in the first place? Like, why did you start? When did you start? What prompted this whole thing? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. So my dad was a lifelong educator. My grandparents on both sides, I have educators, aunts and uncles. And so I swore I would never be an educator because I saw how hard it was. It's a
Uh-huh.
difficult job, and it was even back then. But then
Yeah.
as I was going through school, I happened to be in a college that offered a psychology and special education. Am I okay with you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little glitchy, right? I think we're getting a
Can you
little
hear me
glitch.
okay?
Carrie, are you seeing it? Carrie, are you seeing it on
Yeah,
your end?
yes, it's a little glitchy.
It happens. We'll clean it up in the edit.
Okay, yeah. Our internet
Yeah.
decided to go out today, so I'm using a hotspot. So, but
Oh, are
anyways,
you?
long story short, I
Okay.
went. Yeah, I went to a college that offered a psychology and special education degree together. And I
Hmm.
was in the psychology strand. And so I just happened to start taking special education classes, and I absolutely fell in love.
Oh.
And so that's how, so for the first 7 years of my career, I was a special education teacher.
Hmm.
And then I got my degree in regular education and then gifted education. And um, it was just for 32 years was the most amazing career. Yeah, I
Wow.
loved every
32 years.
minute. Yeah.
32 years. Wow. Good for you. How about you, Carrie?
Or for me, similar. I swore up and down because I'm from a family of educators as well, and I was like, not me, okay, not me. And I'm gonna be a pharmacist. Well, I took biology, college biology, and I was like, not for me. So
Uh-huh.
I was a PR major for a little while, and I said, really, why am I fighting this? I'm meant to be a teacher, okay? And so I switched on over to elementary ed, and after college, my old high school principal called me up and was like, hey, I heard you just graduated. Want to come work at the high school? I have an EC position open, special education. And
Wow.
so I didn't have a degree in special education, but she said, oh, you can take the praxis, get your licensure, no problem. So I did that for 2 years. I learned a
Huh.
lot working with high school students. Like, just graduated from this high school 4 years ago. So that was fun. I got to
Yeah,
work with
right.
my old teachers.
Yeah, right.
But then there was a fifth grade opening and at the elementary school. And so that's where I moved to. And then that's when Chromebooks, like a couple years later, we got our first Chromebook cart, had a digital integration facilitator come in and help us with that. And so I was like, oh, I think I want to do this. I want to lead
Yeah.
the PD. I want to, and so I started as a digital integration facilitator with Kim, and then we
Oh,
did
yeah.
that for many years, and it was a great experience. Then I left the classroom to do PD around the state,
Yeah.
and with budget cuts last year, um, lost my job, but it was bittersweet because
Hmm.
I was without a job for a month, and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then the elementary school where I went as a child had an opening, and the
Ah,
principal, and
nice.
it's right down the street, and the principal was like, hey, we have a second grade position. And
Nice.
so that it has really been a rewarding year. It's
Good.
been it's been not without its struggles, like
Uh-huh.
it's been a learning curve because post COVID I mean, it's been different. I haven't never taught second grade before.
Yeah.
But I've had a great group of students and families and support, like, for my teammates. Um, So it's been a really great experience being back.
What's the challenge with the grades? So you mentioned it's been challenging. What are those challenges?
Well, I think just learning a new curriculum. So our
Mhm.
district has, 3 new curriculum programs for reading, phonics, and math. And so while I'm also trying to learn the standards, I'm also trying to learn like our new curriculum and where like what I know fits. So I want to do computer science. I want to do STEM. I'm used to being able to go into classes and do lessons. Where does that fit now that I'm in a classroom setting?
Right, right.
So, but I will say we have our ELA curriculum is CKLA. And so it's a knowledge building curriculum and it has been amazing. And so students are learning, about different topics. For example, we finished up our insects unit a couple weeks ago. And so we learned about the life cycles of insects and all about insects. And so then we went and did like the culminating activities today. So once we end our units, we have what's called culminating activities. And that's where I can integrate STEM, robotics right into that curriculum. So that
was the hex bugs life cycle?
Right. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. That's cool.
Before we end today, you definitely need to ask Carrie about her AI. She just received a wonderful award, very deserving, and ask her what she's doing with AI, what she did with AI with her second graders. It's amazing.
Let's do it right now. Why not right now? I want to know.
Thank you. So I before I left my previous position, we wrote an NSF grant with some professors from NC State and myself, and we actually partnered with the district where I'm working now. And so that grant was awarded in September. So I'm already working in the district. So now we're working with teachers K-5 on AI integration. But as part of that, we were encouraged to apply to the Presidential AI Challenge. And so there was a whole component of I submitted for the educator track. And so my students used Google's Teachable machine and they taught the machine. And so they had images of insects. And first of all, we started with a traditional sort, right? Insect, non-insect. So they could learn like classification. And then we went into Google's Teachable machine and they trained the model. So we were using that AI vocabulary of, training the data. We talked about, well, what happens if there's not enough data? What is the computer actually seeing? So they can tell you all about pixels now. And so they scanned the different images to train their model. And then they went back and they're like, let's scan. It was very interesting because we scanned a cardinal and it scanned it said, oh, insect. And my students, second graders, were like, this is not an insect. I wonder if the machine saw, we showed it a lot of pictures of ladybugs and sorted the ladybugs as insects. So I wonder it's seeing the red and thinking, oh, if it's red, it's an insect. So they asked, Mr. Robledo, can we get some pictures of red non-insects so we can train it with those images as well? And so just thinking critically, about.
That's great.
Yeah.
Dude, so wait, was it because it saw red and did they, when they started to show it other red non-insect, did it start to say, okay, there's variations here? Isn't that amazing how, so when you think about how well AI kind of works on the surface of it, like these large language models and can you imagine that's just one instance of like some little small nuance of like red, because we've been looking at ladybugs. Ladybugs are red, therefore all red should be a ladybug.
Right.
But no, right? And your kids made that like, wow, that's second grade?
Second grade.
That's what they ought to be learning. That kind of stuff, that kind of thinking, that goes to question everything, right? Question. Like why?
And then it was interesting because they were really fascinating. They made the connection. They're like, well, okay, so is that what the Bojangles? I don't know if y'all have a Bojangles in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, but it's a chicken place. Is that why Bojangles, their speaker intercom, like it doesn't always recognize like when we order because it's an AI. Like who trained? They were asking who trained that machine.
Right.
And so they're like, it's always messing up when we order. Like, why is it every time we ask? So, you know, they're really thinking about outside of the classroom, you know, when they're using their AI, different AI. If it makes a mistake, well, who's training it?
Wow,
Are they getting all that information needed to be successful? You know, in second grade.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie, The Thinking Game? Have you heard of this movie or the book? Oh,
I haven't.
you have to see it. His name is Demesis. Demesis is his name, I think. And it's all about the guy that started DeepMind, and his whole mission in life is super intelligence, creating AI that is going to be curing diseases, creating new alternative energy sources. And his story is, as a young boy, 4 years old, he was beating like adults in like chess. And he became fascinated with he didn't see a distinction between machine thinking and human thinking. He said, thinking's thinking. And if I can build machines that can think, and then he got into video games. And anyway, it shows you it's a really great movie. It's such a good documentary. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's called The Thinking Game. And he now is with Google. Google bought them, but they were like, they tried to something Go, where they try to beat the game Go. You ever see that like hyper? I'm messing it all up. I'm butchering it. But you can do chess, but there's a game. There's like, I think it's a Chinese game called something Go, High Go or something, and it's super complex. And they train it on that. But they started it when they first started training the AI models way back when. They started with the most basic thing, Pong. Remember Pong?
Yes.
And they just knew that points are good, losing points is bad. That's all it knew. And at first it was really messing up, but then they started to watch something. It's fascinating. It started to score, and they started to racking up points, and then it started to learn from how to score. And then it started to get really good. So they started training it on like Pong. Anyway, you guys being in like now the AI stuff and see, I think you'll love that movie. It was a really good documentary, really good movie. It was a good book. So you're doing this with second graders. So is there more of that? Like what program is that you're working on?
So that was for the AI Presidential AI Challenge. But we have an NSF grant partnered with NC State. And so it's called Elementary AI. And so for 3 years, we're going to be working with K-5 teachers on building AI literacy and understanding, what AI is and how we can learn with it.
I like that.
And this is our first year. Yep. And so we started by asking the students, like, what is AI? And so second graders, I had a lot of, it's fake. Is it, they see the artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
It's a robot. Something not real. And so a helper. So really good, like thinking. And then when we were just looking at the fifth grade responses yesterday, and they were more critical. So people, some students put not safe for students. Some said not, uses a lot as water, uses a lot of energy. And so it was really interesting to see what the fifth graders thought as well.
Yeah, my son's not he uses it, but he doesn't love it. He'll tell me, I don't like it. I think, I think they're the backlash is against AI, quote unquote, AI slop, right? I think, have you heard the expression AI slop, like video? And I think people there's a real kind of distaste for something that looks real but isn't. And I think people just don't. I'll give you an example. My wife, who, God bless her, but she comes to me and she goes, look at this great my poor wife, I love her to death. She goes, look at this great video of these little bunnies jumping all over this trampoline. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not real. She goes, I hate that. She goes, I hate that that's not real. She goes, I don't know what is real, and I don't like that. It really got her angry. She was like, I thought that was like really cool, funny. And now I think it's just, I'm so disillusioned and disenfranchised anymore. And I think it's like that with a lot of things. Copy, right? It's like, oh,
yeah,
we know who wrote that.
Right.
serious
Well,
cut
it's
and
huge in
paste. I mean, serious copy and paste and publishing and
Yeah.
animation and movies. I mean,
Well, and I think
so yeah, go ahead.
I think it comes back, that brings us kind of full circle to what we've been talking about, that we've
Yeah.
got to teach our kids to question things. We've got to teach our kids that, okay,
Yes.
this is a cute little video, but is it real? Like, could that really happen? How am I
Yeah.
going to find out if that really happened? Or if he really said that, or she really said that?
And that's going to be important because it's going to get better and better and better at that. And so it could have real crazy implications on like the global stage. I mean, imagine when you can just deep fake anything and you just don't know. But there's so many interesting angles to it outside of like graphics and copy. And like that's how my initial entree into AI was. It was like, oh, copy and graphics, but like building tools and using it for reasoning and there's new like agents are really interesting. Like I've been playing with Claude Cowork, and building little agents like that just summarize my day, right? They hook to you can start to build Jarvis, right? Like Jarvis from Iron Man. You just ask it like, hey, do this, do that, go pay my bills. I mean, it's really wild.
Right.
And building tools and really solving problems with it. I think beyond just write copy and create images. I mean, that was the first kind of step, at least for me, it was my first thing. I think there's so many bigger, better, cooler things that we can be doing with it to accelerate creativity, to accelerate critical thinking and problem solving, to help you ideate through things. I mean, you can use it as kind of a sounding board. You could even build. So here's an interesting thing. In this book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, right? I've recently heard that he was probably all fake, but anyway, it's still a good book. But he used to have this thing called a mastermind group. And a mastermind group was a group of, it's kind of like a board, right? Where your mastermind group is peer, different people that are higher above you. You want to be kind of the dummy in the room sometimes. And you can build a virtual mastermind group using AI. Like you are our critical thinker, you're our finance person, you're our creative, you're our operations, you're this, and you can build this kind of agent team to ideate. That's pretty cool, right? You get all this cool feedback. Anyway, I'm a fan. I think what you're doing in that second grade is critical. I think that's more critical than a lot of the other things that they'll be doing. I think writing, because I think physical writing is important. I'm a big fan of a pen. There's studies that'll show that when you write, you retain. So I think writing is good. Reading, good. Wrote standardized learning. I don't know anymore. I think it's like we can do that, right? We have answers to every question we ever wanted. It's critical thinking. I think the humanities are starting to come back into vogue, aren't they? Because we realize that we need critical thinkers, not robotic workers. We used to need robotic workers. Industrial Revolution, which is this is the education system that's been in place for 100 years, right? Create automatons, show up on time, sit in your seat, don't move, get to class A, get to class B, get to class C. Can we shuttle you through the day? Are you standardized? Can you learn and repeat? And that's completely what we don't need anymore, right? We need to flip that model completely on its head and teach critical thinking and problem solving and all the things we started to talk about when we first started here. Yeah, and you're doing that. That's cool. So it's called Elementary AI.
That's the name of our NSF grant. Yes.
Wow, that's
and so
cool.
my project that I did with my second graders was called Insect Detectives. And so they were detectives trying to figure out, like, is this an insect or non-insect? And so we'd love to take it a step further next year and have them bring in their own pictures from their house or in our school garden to make their own book, field guide, basically. Yeah. So
that's great.
Thank you.
That's really
Thank
cool.
you.
Awesome. That's so cool. Well, let's leave with like positivity, right? We love this. So I think it's great to see you both. And I always like to wrap up with this, where are we going? And we're kind of talking about it, I think, but we're talking about today. Let's go back. I think, Carrie, this goes back to where my second grader is going to be in 5 years. What do you think what are you seeing that makes you optimistic? I mean, there's a few things that we've gone kind of negative, like how they don't read anymore, they don't this anymore, they lost attention spans, and that can all be spun so kind of on the half empty side. But what's half full? What makes you? What inspires you? What are you seeing today? You guys are both in the world. Kim, you're in publishing. Carrie, you're right there at the ground level of tomorrow's. You know, those are the kids. You're right in the thick of it right now. Those are the people that are going to be adults in 15 years. Boy, what a world they're going to grow up in. What a wild world they're going to grow up in. What makes you excited?
For me, they are just seeing the students' excitement in bringing in things they may not have had the experience to do. And so, like, in addition to doing our life cycles, we also dissected owl pellets today, in addition to the hex bugs. And I had kids saying, "This is the best day ever," because they were using their hands, they were touching. I mean, it was kind of crazy.
You cut out a second. What did you dissect? You cut out a moment. What did you dissect? I can't. Did you get it, Kim? What is it?
Owl pellets. Owl pellets.
Owl pellets.
Yes.
What is an owl pellet?
Yeah.
So an owl doesn't actually. There are certain things an owl can't digest, like bones, feathers, and it goes into the gizzard of the owl. And so when it gets nice and compact, then the owl regurgitates the owl pellet.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and so we went through
You've
today.
never done an owl pellet, Scott?
Never did an owl pellet. No, I didn't know such a thing existed.
God.
I did not know such a thing even existed.
It's great.
I learned something today.
They're like, when my dad goes in the woods, I'm gonna have him look for owl pellets.
Well, so what do you find when you dissect? So continue. I'm sorry to interrupt. What do you find when you dissect an owl pellet?
So we found some really cool skulls, like a shrew or a mole skull, some like a jaw, bones. They took in, they classified it on their chart to try to figure out what rodent it was, and then they glued it down on a little. It was great. I mean, and the kids were like, "This is so awesome!"
Really?
And so that makes me excited because they love the hands-on, like when they are, getting to do, the fun things, of course, but truly engaged. Like their excitement makes me excited. And so I love the class I have this year, and they've been just the best to have, like, my first year back. And so they make me excited for what's to come, really.
Yeah, excellent. And Kim, I'll throw the same question to you as well. Like, where do you see everything? What gets you jazzed up about today and where we're headed?
Yeah, I think, well, just kind of piggybacking on what Carrie said. I mean, kids are kids. Kids are still naturally curious. I mean, I see it in my 6-year-old granddaughter. They want to learn. They wonder about everything, and happily, they still love to be read to. I went to Carrie's class and did a little author visit. I did an author visit.
Oh, you did.
A class in New York, and they just, it made me so happy because they were kind of just glued to the screen listening to me read a picture book. So kids still love to be read to. So I think if I could offer any suggestion to beginning teachers, is that try to engage and include read-alouds, picture books, or a little novel, every day, whatever, however you can work it in, because I know your schedule is busy, but it really sets a great foundation for everything, for reading, for integrating science, social studies. They love to be read to. High school students love to be read to. I have high school teachers tell me all the time that they bring picture books into their classroom and start their units with it.
Wow,
yes, no matter what age, we all love to be read to. And so that makes me excited that, picture books are not a thing of the past. They're going to continue to be an important part, I hope, of our educational process.
Absolutely.
Nobody's read to me in a long time.
I will piggyback on that. Like, when Kim came to read to our classes, I have a student who came to me after she left, and he had a little notebook, and he said, "This is my notebook, and I'm going to put my wonderings in this notebook." And so that was just like truly exciting.
His wanderings, his thoughts.
Because in Kim's books, her character, Emerson Blake, carries a notebook where she writes her wandering.
Cool.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, I love it. See, that stuff's great. That is great. So kids are kids, more play, more inquisitive, so when your kids were doing the owl pellet dissection, could they take a picture of like what they find and toss it up into AI and say, can you tell me what this is?
Oh, great idea. That's a really good idea.
Right. Like that I do all the time. Like I had weeds in my grass last year and I was like, this is a mess. Look at this. What can you do for this? And it gave me an entire like process of like, well, first start with this pre-emergent, and then it looks like you have this, and this, and this. Right. And I was like, oh, because I had over fertilized and I got this weird growth in my grass. And it goes, you clearly over fertilized. So now you need to do this. Step one, do this. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the kids would be fun to like where, maybe what is this? Can you identify what this is?
You just gave me an idea for tomorrow because we kept our papers where they glued it down. And so tomorrow I'm going to go and say, let's take a picture of your, rodent and see if the AI can identify it. That's a great idea.
Identify it. That'd be really cool, huh?
Yeah. And I think that comes back. Yeah. And that really kind of comes back to everything that Carrie and I believe in. That's just relevancy. Teaching things in isolated silos does not work. It's all got to be relevant and tied together in order for our kids to understand it the best that they can.
Clearly.
Right.
Right. So then they can write down their findings in their field books, like Emerson Blake.
That's great.
I love it. And maybe they could even, so AI says this is likely a shrew. And that shrew may have been, could we identify maybe how old it might have been by the size of its skull? And then maybe they can write a story about the shrew and its little life before the owl ate it.
Yeah. Yep.
They can do a little story about the shrew's life, right? Like the life of a shrew. There's so many cool things you could do with that, right? Like you could do some, could they use AI to maybe recreate, how we reconstruct dinosaurs? Maybe they could recreate the physical for the full shrew, right? Or whatever it is, whatever that is. So they could have a lot of fun with that, asking the AI what to do with the actual dissections.
Right.
Wow, interesting. You could do some cool stuff. Yeah. So is there like a platform that they actually interact with?
For the AI?
Yeah.
So we haven't with our students yet. And I was going to show you an example of like, if this can come through. Yes. So there is, so tomorrow, and that's part of the bones. And here's how one friend of mine, one of my students glued his, very nice. Right?
Sweet. I love it.
Yeah. So we're going to take a picture of that tomorrow, or we're going to upload that to the AI. So I haven't had my students upload anything. We've used Google's Teachable machine because it's a safe.
You got it. Right. Safe. Yep.
Right. And so that would be something I would do. And then we could look at it on the board
Discuss
and say,
it. Right.
Let's have a discussion about this. The results. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And it would be interesting to see if it gets it right, quote unquote, right or wrong.
Right.
Right. And so like maybe if it's incorrect, because they know what it is, right? They're like, oh, this is clearly a shrew. And if it's not a shrew, you could do a lot of fun things with that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And then this is great. So I think, and you two are right, still in it. Kim, the picture books are great. Your picture books are always great. You wrote a lot of the Little Legends stuff, right? I mean, you were on the Little Legends team. So Little Legends is still out there doing its thing. You wrote stories of the second, I'll tell you, that second series is amazing when they go to the farm. It's great. Tina, the alpaca.
If we can ever release a third series, Scott, it's all AI. So there you go.
It's all AI. The third, because Gimbal's AI.
Yeah.
Right. Because Gimbal is an artificially intelligent drone. So that's just how the kids were interfacing with an AI agent at the time. That was the idea of that Gimbal could literally be teaching be the stand-in for like an AI agent that the kids are interacting with.
Mhm.
And he makes all kinds of silly mistakes, right? Like in the stories in the farm, there's the one where he has to keep going back and getting the tools, and he keeps bringing back the wrong tool, or he lets all the chicks out. Right? They have to count all the chicks, the little chickens. Yeah. So for a third series, you know, well, there was the gimbal right there. There he is right there, little AI drone. Very cool. Well, this was fun. Thank you so much. We'll have this is a good one. So I think people get a lot out of this. I think Carrie, what you're doing with the AI stuff is great. People can follow you. So Kim, you're very active on X now, formerly Twitter. You've got Collazo Cove. We're going to link to it in the show notes. Carrie, what about you? Can people follow you anywhere? Is there any place you want us to direct people to?
So I am on X lately, but I probably should, and LinkedIn as well.
And LinkedIn. So we're going to link to all of those. And then everybody can start to follow you if they have questions. I'm sure you're probably going to get Kim a lot of questions about your books. And I'm sure Carrie, you probably have a lot of people that are really interested in the grant you wrote for elementary AI. I'm probably going to assume you're going to get a lot of feedback on that. So Carrie and Kim, fantastic. What a great time to see you. Really good to see you again, Carrie. Kim, I see you often. You're doing our professional development now for Drone Legends. So that'll be fun. And thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. This is great.
Thank you, Scott.
All right.
You.
Take care. Bye.